In this video, we're going to write a unit test for a Vue single file component using Jest as the test runner. I've created an app using the Vue CLI and added a counter component. This is the component that we'll write our test for. The counter component renders a counter value and it increments the counter value when a button is clicked. You can see what this looks like in the browser. Click on increment, increments the counter value by 1. We're going to use Jest for our test runner, so the first thing to do is install it and save it as a dev dependency. While Jest is installing, we'll create our test file called counter.spec.js. Jest will automatically pick up this file because it has a .spec.js extension. We'll define our test suite using the describe function and then define a test with the test function. The first test just tests that everything is set up correctly, and it will contain an assertion that always passes. So we expect that true equals true. Now, once Jest is installed, we can create a unit script that will run Jest to run our test for us, and we'll call the script unit for unit tests. If we run npm run unit, Jest will run and report back that our tests are working. Great. Because we're testing a Vue single file component, we need to add an import for a Vue single file component to our sanity test to make sure that we're handling single file components correctly. So I'll just add an import for the counter component, import from counter.vue, and if we run our tests again, we get an error. What's happening here is that Jest is trying to run our counter component inside JavaScript, but the counter component isn't valid JavaScript. So when Jest runs it, it encounters the angle bracket token and throws an error. We need to transform our counter component before Jest runs it. To do that, we can use Jest transformers. We need to install Vue.js and Babel.js to transform JavaScript and Vue files correctly. To use these transformers, we create a Jest field in our package.json and use the transform option. In our transform object, we pass in a regex that the Jest should match files against, and then the name of the transformer we're going to use. So I'm not great with regex,